Hello guys, welcome to another log of Digimon COLOR Monster Hunter Edition, and for today's log we have Chaotic Gore Magala. So this is the last of our Gore Magala line. Very interesting stuff. And after this we are going to move on to our Zinogre line. I'm very excited, we'll talk more about it in our next log. But yes, Chaotic Gore Magala is our last log for the Gore Magala line. And before we continue with today's log, just have to say if you're a fan of Digimon or raising virtual pets, you've come to the right channel because I document every Digimon that I raise and I upload at least twice a week. If you're interested in such content, go ahead and blast the like and subscribe button with Chaotic Gore Magala's Frenzy Virus and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my uploads. Alright, let's get into today's log. We have Chaotic Gore Magala. It's a mouthful of its name. The Japanese version of his name is even longer. Konton ni Umeku Gore Magara. No idea what it actually means, but apparently it's just kind of like a black spiral thing, dragon basically. Yeah, very interesting profile here. So as usual, under the Monster Hunter Fandom page, I will navigate to the in-game description that we usually see that gives us a good synopsis, but this time around I want to talk a little bit about the physiology, because I feel that the physiology section actually gives us a little more flavor into Chaotic Gore Magala's lore. So, according to the in-game description in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, Gore Magala that have fallen into chaos, having been denied the evolution into Shagaru Magala. They maintain their original power while possessing the potential of Shagaru Magala, making them incredibly unstable. Sometimes this leads them to fall into a state of anguish and violence. When attacking their prey, they repeatedly fold and unfold their wings as if to show their internal struggle with their own form. So yes, it is a partial... Okay, so this is very vague. It says that they've been denied the evolution into Shagaru Magala. So what does being denied means? If you look at the physiology in this page, it's very interesting. It says here, despite the unique name, Chaotic Gore Magala is actually just a normal Gore Magala which has been traumatized or otherwise interrupted during the process of molting into Shagaru Magala. So remember, the Gore Magala that we talked about in the previous two logs ago is supposed to eventually evolve into a Shagaru Magala through molting. But this molting process is long, so apparently it can get interrupted. So mature Shagaru Magala will use the virus. So it's quite sad, it's a little bit cannibalistic or kind of cruel to your own kind. Shagaru Magala will use the virus to suppress the molting of all nearby Gore Magala, eliminating competition for their territory. These immature Gore Magala seem to only be left in their juvenile state, but those who were already in the process of molting will have their metamorphosis forcibly halted partway, and thereby leaving them as Chaotic Gore Magala. So they're kind of like a, like a metapod, like a metapod gone crazy, right? They were going through this metamorphosis phase and then they got interrupted and they are just in this very unstable state. So as a result, only half of one side of his body has fully molted. Because of his improper molting process, it is left looking like an amalgamation of Shagaru Magala and Gore Magala, with a single vestigial horn and eye and half of his body partially covered in golden scale. This state is highly unstable and Chaotic Gore Magala will eventually die if left to their own devices. Very sad story actually, now that you know the specifics. So if you look at it, yes, it does look like an amalgamation of these golden scales on one side, and the other side is the Gore Magala looking, and he only has one horn instead of two horns. The other side is still looking like a Gore Magala. So it's really quite sad when you look at it and you understand the lore more. Yeah, kind of feel pity for Chaotic Gore Magala. Why are the Shagaru Magala so cruel? Anyway, that's why I felt there was a need to go into the physiology section of this Monster Hunter page, because it gives so much more depth to this creature, this character, than just the synopsis. So I hope you found it interesting. I definitely found it interesting. Since we are done with his profile, let's take a closer look at its evolution conditions. And for evolution conditions, we have to go to humulus.com, a highly recommended website for your evolution condition needs. If you're ever stuck trying to raise a specific Digimon, go to humulus.com, you will most definitely be able to find your answer. So, Here, Chaotic Gore Magala evolves from Gore Magala, and these are the specific things you need to get. 2 to 4 chemistics. So from Gore Magala to Shagaru Magala, you need to make sure you have 0 to 2, but for Chaotic Gore Magala, you need to have 2 to 4. So sorry, Shagaru Magala is 0 to 1 chemistic. So you can see here. So the moment you have 2 chemistics, you're gonna get Chaotic Gore Magala. You still need to get 15 battles done and 80% win ratio cumulatively. So once you do that, you will be able to get your Chaotic Gore Magala. Interestingly, as you saw earlier in the Monster Hunter page, it shows that Chaotic Gore Magala has a higher threat level than Shagaru Magala, even though it is supposed to be weaker. So I think I've started to see the difference. I think the power levels that are in the device is not indicative of the threat level. That's why there was the inconsistency, right? If it's all based on the threat level we see in the game, Chaotic Gore Magala is shown to have a higher threat level than Shagaru Magala. So why does it have a power level of 100 whereas Shagaru Magala has a power level of 180 if I'm not mistaken, really high, almost twice of that of the Chaotic Gore Magala. You can see here it's 180, power level 180, whereas Chaotic Gore Magala only has a power of 100 at the bottom left hand corner. So why is that so? I think it is actually consistent with the lore. So according to the lore, Shagaru Magala are a lot more powerful than the Chaotic Gore Magala. So they're using the lore to determine the power level. But that doesn't mean that the threat level of Chaotic Gore Magala is lower. In fact, in the game, Chaotic Gore Magala has a higher threat level because of its unstable nature, its unpredictability, its chaotic nature, and how it's kind of psychotic, I guess. Apparently, it kills the hunter easily, and so that frenzied state, it just gives it a higher threat level than Shagaru Magala. Even though Shagaru Magala innately is more powerful, it's just scarier to deal with a Chaotic Gore Magala because of its unpredictability. So I think that's how I'm coming to terms with the inconsistency between the threat level and the power level, because I think the power level follows the lore. So if the lore determines that it is stronger, then they will follow the lore, even if it means that in the game, in the Monster Hunter Sunrise edition, whatever, the threat level for Chaotic Gore Magala is higher. Chaotic Gore Magala does have a lower power level based on the lore. So that's how I'm coming to terms with it. Anyway, I'm still interested to know what you think. If you agree that yes, it's according to the lore and therefore these monsters' power levels are closely tagged to the lore, or did somebody just mess up and accidentally wrongly program all the power levels? Personally, I think the lore explanation makes sense, and the threat level also makes sense in this case. So even though it's a higher threat level, it's understandable that technically this has a lower power level, right, than Shagaru Magala. So that's it. That's a deep dive on Chaotic Gore Magala's power levels and Monster Hunter's lore and its evolution conditions. Now since we're done with that, let's take a closer look at its sprite, shall we? Alright, let's take a closer look at our dear Chaotic Gore Magala. Very interesting sprite here. And I think now that I've better understood the lore and the story behind it and the design behind it, I can better appreciate the sprite design, because if you look carefully at it, you can really see that it does have a single horn and a single eye, right? The eye is on the left, the right side of the sprite, and on the left side it doesn't have a horn, it doesn't have an eye. It's really sad. It's really like a combination of Shagaru Magala and Gore Magala, like halfway. The golden scales on the side. So yeah, it's sad. It's such a sad story, and the sprite does look very representative. Let's give it a piece of meat. Oh, it eats nicely. Sad. It's such a sad monster. Alright, let's give it some training. Oh, I missed it. Boop, boop, boop. Ah, I missed it again. It's angry animation. It's really angry when it's angry, yeah? Let's give it. Ah. Alright, finally got it. Happy animation. Whoop. Whoop. Ah, it's happy. It's really happy. Hey, hang on. Is this similar to the angry animation? It looks very similar, to be honest. I can barely tell the difference. This is angry. If you tell me this is happy, I might not know the difference, you know. Let's see the happy animation. It looks very similar. Did they just reuse the sprites? Oh man. Anyway. Yeah. Because the design is so similar, you can hardly see the face. So it does look very similar. Both hangry and happy and angry. Hangry. Let's see it saying no. No. No is still full of sass. Every one of these monsters says no with sass. Alright, let's do some battles, even though I'm pretty sure it can't really win. Let's just see how far I can go in the final stage. Let's go! Whoa! Whoa! Dodged. Oh man, that's terrible. He's gonna lose. Let's see how far I can go. Tap. Yeah, lost. It's expected, honestly. It's not that strong, it's a power level of 100. How is it supposed to clear the final stage? Anyway, let's see sleeping animation. It sleeps at 11. Oh, that's a sleeping animation. Kinda cute. Cute. But intimidating at the same time. And that's it for Chaotic Gore Magala's log for today. If you haven't already, please go ahead and blast the like and subscribe button with Chaotic Gore Magala's Frenzy Virus and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my uploads. I document every monster Digimon that I raise, and I have playlists for Vital Bracelet BE, Digimon Color, Digimon Pendulum Color, and Digivice Color Evolution as well. So please feel free to check them out. Otherwise, thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!